I love elephants and follow the Sheldrick Trust and other accounts on social media. So when I heard August 10th was World Elephant Day, I knew what I wanted to paint for this month's animal tutorial. Let's get started. Today I'm going to use an Arches 8x10 block in cold pressed 100% cotton paper, and I have already drawn the outline. I'm going to use 3 colors by M. Graham, and I'm going to use Quinacridone Rose, Nickel Azo Yellow, and Phthalo Cyanine Blue, and I'll start off with my Silver Black Velvet number 10. I'm going to start first with the background, and I'm thinking I'm going to make the elephant gray, bluey, like a blue-gray, Payne's gray kind of color. And in the background, I want to do a thing that I've been seeing a lot of people do when they're swatching. I'm going to make like a circle right here that's white. So the inside of this circle is white, and I'm going to get some yellow, and I'm going to go around that circle. Okay, now I'm going to do the rest of the painting in this very pale yellow value. A lot of this is going to be sped up because it's going to involve me painting an entire piece of paper, and I'm going to get out a number 16 just so I can get it on there quicker. We don't want to start with too high of a value or too dark of a value. Because we're going to be adding layers and layers and layers on top of this yellow to practice glazing. Looks like a hair came off of the brush. If you want to practice this with me, the glazing part, you have some Arches paper, I would suggest using Arches because it's better for glazing and also for lifting, but the paint doesn't usually come off when you go over and over and over it. And I'm using staining colors, so they're definitely not going to just come off when I go over them with a second, third, fourth, fifth pass. Keep watching and you'll see what I mean. And by the way, the outline is available on my Patreon channel. The link will be in the description. It's free. You just need to sign up as a free member, and you can watch the video from there if you want to, or you can watch it here. You can just watch this and then go find your own animal and use this background. Now, in between each layer, you need to dry it. So I'm going to go dry this. And when people do this, they're trying to get all of the value range throughout the whole wash. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make the circles thicker. They would do skinny circles all the way around and get the full range. I'm doing this just for fun. If I were doing a swatch, I would probably do it like they're doing it. I'm not even sure what to call this. You don't have to have a perfect circle. Okay, and now I'm going to finish filling in the paper with the big paintbrush. It's okay if your wash goes over the elephant's body. We're going to be using the 3 colors to make gray. And now I'm going to dry this one. Okay, 3rd layer. I'm still using a light value of yellow, and as I add the layers on, it will become darker. And you wouldn't think yellow would have a big value range. Some yellows do. I know nickel azo yellow pretty well. Okay, I was running out of yellow on here, so I got another plate that has another glob of yellow. I'm trying to use up the paint that I already have out on plates. Okay, let's do our 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4th layer. I'm going to start turning this into an ellipse. And that's just a word for oval. It's going to be a little closer at the top, a little further away at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do the next layer, and I'm going to start transitioning in some quinacridone rose. I mixed up a very pale orange, and that's going to be our next layer. I'm going to proceed with a little bit darker orange. I'm going to start transitioning over to a darker orange and then eventually red. Go for it. As I get closer to the elephant and closer down the page, I'm going to start making these rings fatter, wider. Okay, now I'm going to mix a purple, sort of a dark red purple for this ring. And this will give the illusion that the elephant is walking on land. So here we go. I'm going to do the little corner. Now I'm going to mix a darker brownish purple. I'm going to have more blue than red for the final ring. Let's see how that looks. And a little more red. Let's see how that looks on here. Look at that. That's going to be nice. Okay, I'm going to go from the feet. If the paper's pretty warm, I'm going to start mixing a gray. I'm going to use this puddle and add some yellow to it. A little more yellow. That's a really nice gray. That was easy. So you just have to have either make an orange and add blue until you get gray, or make a purple and add yellow till you get a gray. But when you add yellow to get a gray, start off very, very pale. You can very easily overpower a mix by using a little bit too much yellow. So I'm going to wet the elephant. I'm going to keep the eye out of it. I'm going to wet the whole thing and add one layer of gray. Okay, and I'm going to start adding gray. I'm going to try to stay very light in the lighter area, the highlighted areas, which will be up here by the bright color of the sun. While I'm waiting for the paper to cool, I'm going to make a couple different grays. This is a real light one. Well, not a real light one. This is a medium one. I'm going to make one over here that's darker. I want that to turn purple before I add yellow. Okay, that's a good purple. A little bit of yellow. Okay, we have a light and a dark purple now, and now we're going to paint each little piece like you would a flower. We're going to wet it and then drop in color. So I'm just going to start from the left and go to the right. I'm going to do this ear. I am going to switch to my number 2 because this is just too big of a brush. Okay, this one has some shadow in it, so I'm going to add the darker mix. It's pretty flat. Okay, we're just going to let the paper or the water take that. There is another line right here, and sometimes I'm just not going to worry about it. I just want it to look folded, so I'll put some folds in and not make it super perfect. Okay, so this ear, I'm going to do this whole ear first, and then when it's dry, I'm going to do this big shadow right here. We're going to work light to dark. And we are going to glaze. That's what all this was. This was all glazing. I'm going to add some of the dark here. Some here. I'm going to fill it in a little. Okay, I'm going to add some of the lighter gray. There's actually a shadow right here. And there's a shadow here. I want that corner there to be folded paper, so I'm going to make it sharp. Okay, now we're going to go to a section that doesn't have anything wet touching it, and we're going to go to this leg. There's a fold right here, so I'm just going to wet above it. Ignore the tail. And add some of the lighter gray. And some darker gray. No, that's on the other side, so we're not going to do that. The shadow for this fold is on this piece. I'm going to skip this and come down to here and wet it. It gets a little complicated down here. I'm just going to simplify. Get some of the darker right on the inside under the belly. Spread it out. I'm going to get some of the dark and clean up this line and this line. And even it out and get some of the dark and put it in here again. Okay, and we'll work on that little fold right there when this is dry. Now let's come down to this leg, the bent one that's behind, the other side of the elephant. I'm going to put a really dark gray in there. Probably should have done that one on dry paper. Okay, I'm going to mix a little more. Needs a tiny bit more blue. I got it a little bit too brown. Okay. Okay, when this is dry, I'll go over it over on dry paper and make it even darker. Let's go to this front leg that's on the other side of the elephant. I'm going to do it on dry paper. And now I'm going to soften this line. And fill in the rest of the leg. A little more pigment. I can do some of the trunk. I'm going to get some pale value and do this little fold here. Medium. And then this is going to be a little darker. Let's do the little forehead. Actually, I'm going to leave that. Let's do this one. Let's do this piece. I am going to wet this little triangle. And I'm going to drop in some of the dark right here next to the head. Damp brush to swoop some of it away. Okay, let's come down to the belly. I'm going to wet it. Actually, I didn't check if that was wet, so I'm going to be careful. Some of the light gray. This is very light. And there's a fold here next to the leg fold. So we'll work on that when this is dry. Let's get this part of the face. I'm going to wet it around the eye. It's a pretty flat gray. And then there's a really dark shadow right here. Okay, now I'm going to do this little dark shape down here on the leg. Okay. I'm going to add a little more color down here. And soften it. Okay, let's do the front leg, and I'm definitely going to wet this. It's a dark shadow under the ear. I'm going to take this color all the way down, and then I'm going to add another dark shadow. I'm leaving the teeniest, tiniest of lines right there to show a fold. Okay, now I'm going to get some blue. I'm going to just mix it right here on the paper. This is a really dark shadow right here. I'm going to get some red. And then some yellow. Although I kind of like it, that color. I'm not going to totally mix that. I'm going to let it blend down. I'm going to get a little more red. That is so pretty. don't think it's finished. I want to tone down this yellow a little. And then I still need to get a very dark shadow. So right on top of that, I'm just going to put this dark, dark, dark. There. And now we can still see the colors that are making up the shadow. That is so pretty. Let's come over here to the head. Going to get some of the medium gray and fill in this little triangle. Need a little more water. Okay, let's do this one, same color. And I'm going to go ahead and glaze over this one. And then when it's dry, I'm going to differentiate those two. Okay, let's do this little triangle. No, I don't want to do that yet because I want to put that deep dark shadow, kind of like we did here, up here. So let's do some more trunk. We're going to have to skip around. Now this, the middle of the trunk is pretty dark, where it's curled. And then underneath the elephant's body on the top of the trunk, it's pretty dark. And soften. And add more. This one's a little, see, this one's light, this one's darker. These are about the same color. Now it gets lighter. See if I can get away with putting it in here without waiting for it to dry. And then this one. That one has a little more value right in here. Okay, I have to wait for that to dry. And I can do, this is like a little mouth. Get it really dark, little triangle for the mouth. We'll wait for that to dry. And I'll come over here to this. I can work on this. Let's do this ear. Let's do, I think I'm leaving the tail how it is. We can do the face. I think it just needs to be a little darker. And it needs like a dark spot right there. Because it needs to not be such a stark difference between these two. Okay, and let's do the same thing on this little triangle. And when that's dry, I'll wet the whole ear and we'll do that big shadow. Okay, I think this one's pretty much done. Okay, let's do the little chest. There is a little triangle that I want to keep because I think it's cute. Right here, like that. I'm going to use a number 2 again. And now I'm going to just fill in the whole chest. I'm going to add the shadow. Okay. I'm going to get the number 4, and we're going to do this. There is a line for a fold right there. Wet the whole thing. So it goes from dark to light in a graduated wash. And then this is dark to light from the bottom up. A little more. And there isn't a shadow from the ear on the body. I'm going to add the dark shadow here. Try to get concentrated. There's a shadow here to show a fold. A little thicker down at the bottom. There's a little one here. I don't know why I just did that. That was dumb. Take that back off. And that's light. All right, let's do this shadow. This whole ear needs more gray. With some more concentrated pigment, I'm going to go put in a really, really dark right here. I want it to still show this little triangle. So I'm going to just sort of dab it off. There, that looks good. That looks really good. I'm happy with that. Let's do the same thing down here. It's very dark. Okay. Now I'm going to do like a wedge from here to there. Soften it. And I'm going to soften it up here. Now we just have a really soft folded line there for a shadow. And then that comes out to here. That looks good. It's coming around. Now let's do the rest of this. This is a little darker than this. Now I'm using the values that I put down to adjust the values on other shapes. I'm going to add just a little bit more to that one. And I'm going to add a little more to this one. Okay. And now at the top, we've got a little bit of a triangle up here. And then another little triangle or fold there. I don't know if it's on the reference photo, but maybe it should go like this. I don't like it. I'm going to take it off. That's the great thing about watercolor, is water just makes it go away if you catch it in time. Okay, this has a shadow. I'm going to wait for that to dry, but this has a shadow on it. That shadow's done. This shadow's pretty much done. Now this one needs a little bit of blue. And we can glaze that blue over some other shapes. Like I'm going to glaze it over these. And then I'm just going to add shadows to them when they're dry. And I think that this is too light. And I'm going to do more of a fold here. I'm just going to take that out later with the eradicator brush. Okay, I think we're getting there. I'm going to make this a little bit more dimensional. Okay, I can do this ear. This is a lot darker than the head. Let's get this dark. I'm going to add a little more yellow to that, just to get it more gray. There. Now it has a dark shadow right here on this fold that's soft. Off camera, I made a little bit more gray, and I'm going to use some of the light gray here to fill in the rest of this ear. It needs to be a little darker right here. And I'm going to use water to bring down the pigment. And I'm going to make this darker up here. A little bit more pigment right here. Okay, number 2. And then I'm just going to fill in that a little bit and soften it. And then the same thing here, just fill it in a little bit. Soften it. I thought that I was preserving a white right there, but I wasn't. Okay, this has a shadow right here. I'm just going to soften it. This ear still needs to be darker, so I'm going to take some of this and put it right next to the head, and I'm going to soften that. Okay, the inside of this needs to have a little more value, and I'm going to soften that. And then let this be light. This needs a shadow. A little more dark right here. Doesn't that look good? I love it. Okay, just a little detail here. A little bit of a foldy line right there. Little detail here, right under this. Just going to make it one color. This needs a little more color, and this needs to be darker. Let's get this dark, put it in here. And then there's a little bit, that little triangle we put in goes right there. I'm going to darken this back leg just on dry paper. I'm going to darken this belly. There's like a little wedge right here. And it gets It's like the same value as the inside of this leg. And then this is soft. And I'm going to darken this little fold. Soften it. I think all we have left is the trunk. Actually, I'm going to just make this a little darker. Right there. Okay, so the trunk, we have a little shadow here. Soften it. And we have a little shadow here. And then there's some little, there's like a sort of a foldy line coming out there. There's a shadow on the side. There are like a million shadows on this elephant. Okay. Okay, let's do the eye. What a little cutie. Just want to darken this right here. And soften. The last thing I want to do is a little bit of lifting. I'm going to just soften all these little folds. This has a white highlight right here. There's a white highlight right here. There's one here. And then this is a little too low. I'm just going to very lightly take some of it up, and then it comes up the front of the arm. There, that looks a little better. We wanted to soften this little fold. I want to soften the tail a little bit. That looks good. I want to clean up some lines. This has been bugging me for a while. And so is this. Okay. There is teeny tiny white highlight right on the edge of these little folds. I'm getting really nitpicky now, but you know, you can stop. Just wanted to see how much fiddling I can do. Apparently it's a lot. Clean that up right there. Clean. This one is not as soft as I would like. It looks like this triangle, that's what's bugging me. I must have lost the line. This is actually, this goes up to there. There we go. That looks much better. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned a thing or two. I'll see you in the next video.